Hey guys, thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. My name is Mathis, and today I will be reviewing The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. Now guys, before I jump into this review, I just want to show you guys the author's pick. Now, his pick is giving me life, so I just had to show it. So this is Colson Whitehead there. Look at that pose. He is giving it to you like, I wrote this book, damn it. I wrote it. So, yeah, I just love that picture, guys. I really like the cover of this book. It's really nice, guys. If you have not read this book, that is the character Cora. And this is Ridgway. He's a villain in this book. He's a slave catcher. So, they are underneath the ground and he is chasing her. And so I like the concept of this cover. So guys, the reason why I picked this book is because it was an Oprah's pick. It has the seal of approval. And so for those who don't know, I love me some Oprah. And so I had to pick this book up. So guys, I reached over to one of the booktubers that I follow. Her name is Books with B. And I asked her, do you want to read this Oprah's pick with me? And she was like, sure. And I was like, okay. And so we both decided to pick up this book. I know she has a huge reading goal on her plate. However, she threw all that to the side just to read this book with me. So thank you, Books with B. I will link her YouTube channel down below. Let me give you guys a brief synopsis of the story. The story is set in Georgia in the early 1800s, and it follows the slave girl by the name of Cora. She is trying to get over the abandonment of her mother. Later on in the story, she's encouraged by another slave to escape slavery and to take the Underground Railroad to freedom. Once she escapes, she is aggressively hunted by slave catchers and night riders, and she is followed from state to state, and along the way she meets new people who she relies on for safety. Alright guys, now my thoughts on this book. Now, I really wanted to love this book because I love Oprah. However, it just did not meet my expectations. Now guys, the writing style in this book is very clunky. The author, he narrates the story a lot. And so I had an issue with that. Just to give you guys a sense of what I'm talking about. So this is one example. So all of this is narration, even over here, and so there's a lot of that in the book, and so you don't get a sense of who the characters are personally because of the narrative. And on top of that, there are flashbacks, and so you have a heavy narration against flashbacks, and so it makes the story perplexed. And so there were a lot of times I had to like reread sentences and to make sure things were happening the way I was thinking they were happening. And so yeah, it was that issue in the book. If you are planning on picking up this book, be sure to pay close attention on what is going on, because this is a type of author that will only explain to you once, like a professor. He will only explain to you once. If you want more additional information, you have to go after class to get it, because he is not explaining to you again. So yeah, so be sure to pay close attention from the beginning to end so you get a full sense of the story. So the character development in this book was just okay. The main character, Cora, I found her character to be distant and standoffish. I couldn't really get into her per se because, you know, she just wasn't warm. I'm not quite sure if the author written her character that way because she was abandoned by her mother, which caused her to develop a thick skin towards people. She just wasn't all that flattering to like that much. Let's talk about the villain. His name was Ridgway. He was a slave catcher, and he was either a slave catcher or a night rider. They both seemed like the same thing to me. Every time his character appeared, I don't know, I just thought of cartoons because he was so animated. I don't know, he was just so dramatic to me. He just did some silly things and I just couldn't take his character really too seriously. Now there's another main character in this book. His name is Caesar. I really did like his character. However, I feel like his character development was short-lived. Another thing about this book is that the author, he touched on sexuality in this book, and so I thought that was very interesting because it's not a lot of slaves books that I've read that touched on sexual identity. There's a character in this book by the name of Ethel. She is struggling with her sexuality, and I just thought that was very interesting. I'm not quite sure why he gave her a chapter because she really wasn't that instrumental in the book and her character is not really that important, but he gave her a whole chapter. So yeah. Now guys, let's talk about the Underground Railroad. If you had no clue what the Underground Railroad was and you decided to pick up this book, I guarantee you would actually think that there was an actual train in this Underground Railroad. For a moment, I had a Portia moment.
There has to be an opening for the railroad at some point, because somebody's driving the train. It's not electric like what we have now.
It wasn't a train, baby. Really? Like, you really thought, like, there was an actual train that took them through?
You know, I even had to do my research, like, hold on, this can't actually, was there actually a train? Because the main characters in this book, they take trains from Georgia to South Carolina, and then they take a box cart to, I think, North Carolina or Indianapolis, one of those states. But anyway, there's transportation in this Underground Railroad. And so that part confused me. After I read this book, I decided to watch an interview of Colson Whitehead to explain more about this train in the Underground Railroad, and he said that he threw that in there for fun, just for jokes, because he does have a sense of humor. If you watch some of his interviews, he has a wicked sense of humor, and so perhaps he did that just to confuse people and perhaps compel people to actually research the Underground Railroad. Even though that was all funs and games, I still wanted the real experience of the Underground Railroad because it's in bold print. It says the Underground Railroad, so I was expecting the real experience of the Underground Railroad, like the slaves escaping underneath the ground on foot, tired, hungry, lost, confused, you know, exhausted. You know, I wanted that experience of that from this book, and I did not get that. This book vaguely touched on the subject of the Underground Railroad, so yeah. So guys, what I really liked about this book was the educational value that this book gives you. There's a section in the book where he talks about clinical experiments that was done on slaves back in the day. That was really interesting. Another thing I would like to mention is that as I was reading this book, I kind of got like a Nazi Gestapo vibe from it because the slave catchers and the night riders, they were invading people's homes and looking for slaves. They were calling this like security check. It gave me that 1940s vibe in a way, and I'm not quite sure that has something to do with the cover because the Nazis colors we all know is red and black, and this novel is written in black, and so perhaps it had some influence with the story. So I thought I'd just throw that out there just for food for thought. So guys, overall, I would give this book a 3.5. Good, solid research. However, the writing was just okay. I had a little issue with the ending of this novel. It did not end well for me. It was not satisfying. It kind of leaves you open to guess what happens. And so I really liked him to work on the ending just a little bit more, but it was just good. Before I close out, I'd just like to leave you guys with a caveat. If you're not prone to graphic violence or language, I'm not quite sure this is the book for you because there is rape and lynching going on in this book, and so yeah, it can get grim just a little bit, but it's not too much. And that is my review of the Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. If you guys read this book, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts, and I will talk to y'all next time. All right, bye.